Hi, in this video I'm going to show you 5 basic maintenance tasks that you can perform to help you save money in the long run. Remember, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up so that way other people can see it's a great video. Subscribe to my channel so you can see more great videos like this in the future. And hit the bell button so you can see when new videos come out. If you think this video is good, share it with your friends. Share it in the different Facebook groups you're in, so that way they can get advantage out of knowing what they should be checking on their car. Some of these checks you may already be familiar with, but it doesn't hurt to go over them once again. The first check I'm going to show you is how to check your fluids, and the different fluids that you can check, and the reason why you check them. The first fluid I'm talking about is the engine oil. What the engine oil does is just keeps it lubricated. If your engine's not lubricated, it will cause friction and you will cause damage to your motor. So all you need to do is just pick up the dipstick, give it a wipe, place it back in, and pull it out again and inspect your level. If it's low, top it back up just till it reaches somewhere between the minimum and maximum level on the dipstick. Also, while you're checking your oil, check to see how black and gluggy it is. The reason why it goes black is carbon from your fuel, and if it's too thick, you'll need to do an oil change. The reason why you change your oil is not because the oil loses its properties, but because the carbon in the oil can damage the motor, so you change the oil to get rid of that carbon. The next fluid level you need to check is your radiator fluid. This is important that it's somewhere between the minimum and maximum line. That way you know that the engine's going to be cooled effectively and you won't overheat your motor. If those levels drop too far, your motor will overheat, causing extensive damage to your motor, and it will become a costly fix to do. So make sure you've always got your radiator levels up, so that your coolant levels up, so that way you're not damaging your motor. Also, your coolant provides to your heater inside your car, so this is another way that the heat gets dispersed from the engine. You want to check your brake fluid as well, because if you don't have brake fluid, your brakes won't apply, and if you don't have brakes, you won't stop, and it will cause a significant amount of damage to your car. My brake fluid also does my clutch, so that's another type of fluid you want to check, is your clutch fluid, to make sure that's operating correctly. Another fluid you want to check, if you have it, is your power steering fluid. That way you've got greater control over your steering, and you won't do any damage to your steering rack if there is no fluid. So always check to make sure that it's topped up, and that way you won't you'll prevent any damage from occurring. Check your washer bottle as well. Make sure that's always topped up with water. Last thing you want, if you got a bit of dirt or something on your windscreen, you don't want that to be empty, so you spray your jets and nothing happens. So just while you're checking your other fluids here, give that a look and top it up if it's low. Also, while you're under the hood of your car, just have a look at all the hoses. Just give them a quick visual inspection, give them a slight pinch, nothing too bad. You're just looking for any cracks or anything like that. You don't need to be a mechanic to inspect hoses. Just give them a look over. If you see any damaged hoses, then replace it yourself or take it to a mechanic. This will help in the future. The number 2 item on the list is your battery. If your battery's not outputting, your car won't start, and if your car won't start, you're not going anywhere. So you always want to make sure your battery's in good condition, so that way you will be able to go where you want to go. The first check I like to do on batteries is I like to look around the terminals to see if there's any electrolysis. Electrolysis is that blue powdery stuff that you see around the terminals. That's caused by the corrosion of terminals. So what you want to do is, if there is corrosion on them, take the terminals off, clean them up with a bit of contact cleaner, wire brush, emery paper, and just put battery terminal protector on them once they're connected. You don't want to put anything between the lug and the terminal, because then you won't get any energy passing through the terminals. The other thing you want to check is to make sure if you've got a maintenance battery, to check your fluid levels in your battery. If your fluid level's low inside your battery won't last as long, and all it needs is distilled water to be able to keep them topped up. So just have a look inside. The maintenance free batteries usually have a green dot or something to indicate the health of the battery, but there's another way that you can check it as well. If you have a multimeter, set the volts to DC. Then what you want to do is check across your positive terminal and your negative terminal, and you want to get roughly 12.5 volts. Yes, they're a 12 volt battery, but you're going to get slightly more because of the way that the battery is designed. The next thing you want to do is turn on the engine, and what should happen is your alternator output should be higher than your battery voltage, so that way it will charge your battery. Because if your alternator output is lower, you will find that your battery won't charge and this figure won't charge, so you'll just kill your battery even faster. I've just turned my engine on. Now I'm going to check to see the voltage output of the alternator. As you can see, it's outputting to roughly around 14.2. If your alternator output's any higher than 15 volts, your voltage regulator could be stuck, and that will damage your battery also quicker as well. So you can see now it's dropped down a little bit because it picked up the battery voltage, but it's keeping it a higher charge than what the battery is. Also, one thing to be aware of is if your car has smart charging, the alternator may not output while the battery is fully charged. The next thing you want to check is your air filters. So in my car, I've got two air filters. I've got the engine air filter and the cabin air filter. But first I'll start with the engine air filter. I've got a video that shows you how to remove the air filter, so check that out if you're unsure. But as you can see, mine's quite dirty. Got stones in it. Oh no, not a stone. If you've got a dirty air filter, it's going to prevent air from getting into your engine. You're going to be burning more fuel than what you need to. So, you know, take it out occasionally, give it a look, give it a tap out, get any excess dirt. That'll extend the life of your air filter a little bit more. The next air filter is your cabin air filter. So you'll see that there's a cabin air filter that keeps all the dirt particles out of your interior of your car. This can get quite dirty. You know, if it's dirty enough, change it. The other thing you can do is spray it with something like Glen 20 to kill any bacteria that may be on it. Also, you could probably spray it with an air freshener, so that way you have a pretty smell going through your car. But yeah, just change it occasionally when you think it needs to be changed. The fourth item that you want to do a maintenance check on is your tyres. Tyres are an extremely important thing. If they're not in good condition, you could have a major accident. You'd be burning more fuel, and they're just going to be costly to replace if you don't maintain them properly. So I like to check the air pressure, make sure it's at the right pressure. You can look at the tyre placard in your vehicle to see what the recommended pressure is. Also, there's a maximum pressure on the wheel on the side of the tyre. So just keep your tyre pressures up properly. The air pressure inside pushes through the walls of the tyres on a microscopic level, so over time they are going to deflate. Also, if your tyres are pumped up to the right pressure, you'll have even tyre wear. If you have too much pressure, you'll find that the middle of the tyre will wear a lot quicker than the outsides. Speaking of tyre wear, you also want to have a look at the tread occasionally. If you have rubbing on the outsides, you'll find that you will need to get a wheel alignment. The good thing about getting wheel alignments, yes, they can be $50, $60, $70, but over the course of the life of the tyre, you may save yourself a couple of $100, so you're not replacing your tyres prematurely. The other thing you want to check is your tread depth. So there is wear indicators on the inside of the tread. You want to make sure that you're not down to them, because once it gets down to them, you will be your tyres will be unfit for the road. You also don't want to let it get down anywhere near that far because it's just unsafe. So they're the tyre checks that I like to do. The last check I'll suggest that you do is check your lights. You know, the last thing you want is when you're driving that your lights don't work, and it's not hard to check. So what I like to do is I like to put my hazards on, I put my high beams, my fogs, and I just walk around. I check to make sure that all the globes are working. You can see that the wing mirrors, the indicators are working there. All the globes around the front and the other wing mirror. Now you may be thinking, if you're by yourself, how are you going to check your brakes? Well, luckily we live in a day of technology that you can set your phone up and you can put it on record and you can press your brakes and then check the footage again. So I'll show you that now. So you can see that my hazards are on, my parkers are on, but you can't see if the brake lights are on. So, and also the same as the reverse lights. So now I'm going to go press the brakes, put it in reverse, and you should see the lights come on. And that's one quick way that you can check your rear lights without having a second person. Remember, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up so that way other people can see it's a great video. Subscribe to my channel so you can see more great videos like this in the future. And hit the bell button so you can see when new videos come out. If you think this video is good, share it with your friends. Share it in the different Facebook groups you're in so that way they can get advantage out of knowing what they should be checking on their car.